You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Well, good evening, Radio 1 listeners. It's good to be here with us this afternoon. You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show here on Spirit 1340 WYCB, the oldest gospel station in D.C. and the first contemporary gospel station in the United States. Glad you all have joined us today. I want to say hello to Dr. Julianne Malvo, who is back with us today. I'm so glad to have you back today, Dr. Julianne. I have told the listeners about you being out because your mom passed and you have a new job out in California. So I just want to say hello to you, and then I'm going to say hi to my other guest, Alethia. How are you today, Dr. Julianne?
Lydia, it's so good to be with you. It's always good to be with you. I missed y'all. It's been a challenging time, but, you know, we fall down and we get up.
Amen. We miss you too, and so we're glad you're going to talk to us today.
Let's just take a few minutes to talk about the politics of the moment. The most important thing really is the damn, I'm sorry, I just cursed on Christian radio. The COVID, the vaccination, the fact that the Delta variant has everybody frightened. We have 95,000 people a day this week. 95,000 a day who've been infected. We have people, however, who still say they're not going to take the vaccine. And it's not just taking the vaccine. At the college where I work, Cal State LA, people are now having to either prove they've been vaccinated or be subject to what they call frequent testing. So you can't come on campus until you've had a frequent test. And this is not unusual. It's happening all over the country. People are just saying, look, this is crazy. Why won't you just get vaccinated? People have their reasons. Some of them are real, and many of them are specious. But here's what we know. It's back to school time. Children are not able to get vaccinated, but they are capable of being super spreaders. There are going to be lawsuits from people who say they don't want to take the vaccine. President Biden is thinking of withdrawing funds, federal funds, from places where they haven't done accurate vaccine testing. 90 million people, about a third of us, have not been within spitting distance of a shot. So that's the biggest thing that's going on. The second biggest thing, of course, is infrastructure. And the Senate has not been able to come up with anything. They're meeting over the weekend. It's $1 trillion bill. It's going to create hundreds of thousands of jobs. But there are, like the Journal of Truth used to say, there's a weevil in it. Yes, there's a weevil in it. And the weevil, I think, this time around is whether or not we're willing to go one step further with the budget bill. Because congressional progressives are not going to vote for the infrastructure bill unless they have some assurance about the budget bill, which is a $3.5 billion bill that President Biden has put out there. The third thing, which has kind of receded a little bit, has been, of course, the Voting Rights Act, the John Lewis Act, and the fact that many people are still, Reverend William Barber is still twisting in the wind, pushing very hard to make sure that we have something to deal with voting. And the question for a lot of people is, do we throw everything under the bus to get voting, or we throw voting under the bus to get everything else? And I say you have no rights if you don't have voting rights. You have no rights if you don't have voting rights. And so from that perspective, we really need to have deal with this. Now, in the weeds, Lyndia, is a piece that's exciting to me, very exciting. The Department of Education announced that they would suspend the collection of student loan debt until the end of December.
Good.
We know that Black women hold more student loan debt than anybody else does. We know that student loan debt is a barrier to wealth accumulation. And so to give folks another 3-month break, I think is really exciting, and we're really thrilled about that. I wish they would make a bigger deal out of it. I wish more of us knew about it. So that's the top of my news for, for the week. There's so many other things going on. Of course, as we know, I love Cori Bush. I mean, I think the world of her laying on those steps last week for the homeless, which caused us to get an eviction moratorium extended. However, there's going to be a court fight about that because the Supreme Court, some of the Supreme Court say it isn't legal. And you raise a number of issues about property rights. And what if you're a small landlord and you have 3 apartments that you own? Depend on them to pay your mortgage. And you say you can't evict people. Well, how do you pay your mortgage? So this, I mean, it's not just, it's not a zero-sum game. We really have to deal with it. But the fact that President Biden did extend the moratorium is a good thing, and I think there are funds that are available through HUD for people to, if their tenants can't pay, for them to basically collect those dollars. So that's really great. So, again, the biggest challenge we have right now, we thought we had the virus, COVID, under control. We didn't. And so because we didn't, all of the economic restructuring, re-engagement that we thought we had, we don't have. Restaurants, hotels, airlines, all of them are still having problems. And the legislatures have been very slow to move.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Julian. We're so glad to have you back with us this week.
Well, thank you, and I'll be with you next week, too.
All right. Wonderful. You're listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. We're going to go to our commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, you know we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
I'm Latrice, the receptionist at the malpractice law firm Jack Olander & Associates. I answer the phone when you call 202-879-7777. Our experienced malpractice trial lawyers, Jack Olander, Harlow Case, Sandra Robinson, and Melissa Ray, are assisted by Dr. Robert Shaban, our of-counsel pediatrician and lawyer, and by our in-house nurse attorney consultant, Leslie Zork, who was a labor and delivery nurse for 10 years. Since Jack Olander won the first multi-million-dollar cerebral palsy case in the country, we concentrate on cerebral palsy and other major injury malpractice cases. You can reach us at 202-879-7777 or jhopc@olander.com. We'll look forward to your call.
Washington Informer religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Who Moved My Cheese is a book about 2 types of people, those who accept change quickly and move on, and those who hem and haw and try to figure things out. They didn't see change coming and waste valuable time trying to figure out what happened, how did this happen to me. Let's call this group procrastinators. The lesson inside the cheese story is simple. Life is change. Brother said it best when he said, if I accept you as you are, I will make you worse. However, if I treat you as though you are what you're capable of becoming, I help you become that. We must change and keep moving. The Bible tells us to seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be open unto you, ask and it shall be given.
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at washingtoninformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
Think Clean is a minority, woman-owned residential and office cleaning business located east of the river in Anacostia. All of our Think Clean crew members are vaccinated, and we follow CDC and EPA cleaning guidelines using only approved disinfectants, sanitizing products, and equipment that fights the COVID-19 virus. Want a 10% first-timer caller discount? Say you heard about us on the Lyndia Grant Show. For your free estimate, call 202-709-1980. Call us today. Think Clean, spelled with a K.
All right, and we are back. You're listening to the Lyndia Grant Show here on Spirit 1340 WYCB. I'm going to introduce my guest now. Her name is Alethia Tucker. Alethia is an Amazon #1 best-selling author. She's a speaker and a personal development coach. Her new book is entitled Reinvented to Rise, and it aims to inspire other women from different walks of life through an anthology of stories. I'm not going to give you the full description of the book because that'll be taken away from some of the questions I want to ask for her, and I'm going to go right to talk to her. She has a background in human resources, and I think she has a master's and speaks all over the place when we can get back to normal. But I just want to go right on and start talking to Alethia. Tell us in your own way, Alethia, who you are, and tell us a little bit about you for people who may not know you. Let's hear who you are first.
Sure, Lyndia. Again, thanks so much for having me. So, again, I am Alethia Tucker. I like to call myself a child who was kind of raised in a number of different places. My father was in the military, so I come from I am a part of an Air Force family. I have been in this area now well over 20 years. That's where my father retired in this area, actually more over 30 years. We've been here now. When he did his last retirement, this is where I stayed. I went to high school here. I went to undergrad and graduate school here. I met my sweetheart at church. I was at Georgetown. He was at Howard. We married. We have 2 beautiful children and a 4-legged child who believes he's a human. And our children are ages 27 and 20. Mm-hmm. And I live here. I am in human resources. I work with a small company, a small female-owned company where I do director of human resources for them. I am their director for HR. And then I also have my own company, Jolie's Enterprises, where I work to empower and equip women, to go after the things in life that they desire, the things that they have been dreaming of. To go for greater is always how I explain it.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Well, also I want you to share with listeners some of the milestones. My show is called Think on These Things. It's never easy to get to where you are. I want you to give us something that some people might not have continued.
Sure. So, one milestone that I think of in particular, it's certainly not the only one, but it is a huge one for me. When I was age 16, we were living on Bowling Air Force Base. And, as I mentioned, my father was in the military. He was in the Air Force. And one morning as I was walking to the bus stop to go to high school, I was in high school at that time, 16 years old, a school bus ran off the road and hit me. And at the time, it was called Bowling Air Force Base. Now it's called Joint Base Anacostia Bowling. And that was really a huge milestone for me because things were pretty bad after I was hit by the bus. Amazingly, I was not hurt in a number of different places, but where I was hurt the worst, it was severe. My left foot was totally mangled, almost to the point where it was severed off. So, months in the hospital, months of physical therapy. I know at least 6 operations to this date. And, you know, I've been blessed to be able to keep the foot when they thought I wasn't going to be able to, when I'm able to walk, when they didn't think I would be able to do that. So because of God, I defied all the odds.
Oh, my God, that is such a story.
Yeah. Yes, and it has
that
made
is a
me
milestone.
That is definitely a milestone.
I mean, I see you in your photograph when we can see your entire body. You're in heels. They may not be real tall ones like I used to like, but you are in heels.
That's right. And you're right. They're not tall, but they are there, just a little.
Yes, indeed. Tell us about this new book you have now called Reinvented to Rise, and a little bit about the authors and how you selected them.
Sure. So, you know, the pandemic has yes, absolutely. The pandemic has affected us in so many ways, and, you know, I am no different. And during the time, I really kind of have had the time to do a lot of reflecting. And it just turned out, you know, last year sometime I was reflecting and seeing where I started and where the Lord has blessed me to go and the people he's blessed me to come in touch with. And I realized that really where I started and who I really was no longer that a person that I started out being, and realized that I really had reinvented in so many ways and, you know, reinvented for the better. And I wanted to encourage other women by letting them know that it's possible to go for the things that you desire in life. And I thought about it and I said, well, you know, how many women other than myself has had to do the hard work around reinventing for one reason or another? And all of that led to, you know, being able to identify some women, and all of that led to me coming up with the idea of doing an anthology. I was very particular in how I chose the authors. I met them through, you know, some I've known all my life, some I've just met through client interaction, others, you know, I've reached out to on social media. I was very prayerful because I wanted it to be a tool that women would be able to look at and be able to use and be inspired by, and, you know, give launch to a movement per se that, you know, wherever you want to be, whatever it is you want to do, whatever circumstance you're in, you can move from there and go for better. And these women, when you look at that book, there is a woman out there who can resonate with at least one of the women in that book. And that's what I wanted the project to do. Yes.
Indeed. Starting with you, we're resonating with what you have to say now, just knowing that you had to have the inner strength to be all of these things that you are today, given your earlier circumstances. Tell the listeners, as a motivational speaker, how you were able to pick yourself up and keep going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know, when the accident happened, I was young, but I tell you, I was saved at that point, but my faith was strengthened tremendously by how God worked in my life, the people who poured into me and made sure that I didn't let go. And because they are who they are and the things that they did with me, that encouraged me to keep pushing forward, you know. And over time, I learned that, you know, God had a purpose for me, and, you know, I could not crawl up under it, and I could not sit and be in a pity party all the days of my life. I had to come out, because even in that accident, I had a testimony that would help somebody to push forward. So he pulled me out by just letting me know that, number one, I have purpose. Number two, that I came through such a horrible incident. I could have left here, but obviously he had a greater work for me to do. And I think about that every time I want to give up.
And tell me, Alethia, I know more listeners will want to know this. You were in school, so how did you finish your schoolwork? How did that happen?
So I was in a Catholic school, a little small Catholic school, Immaculate Conception Academy. All 50 of us graduated from high school in my class. And the nuns there were so accommodating, so in my corner. They were determined to do whatever it was that I needed to do. The accident that happened, it happened close to the end of the school year. My grades were good enough to the point where they gave me maybe 1 or 2 assignments in each course. They would come to the hospital to study with me and to test me in a way that I wasn't too stressed out. And that's how I made it through the rest of the year.
Okay, yes. Oh, my God, that was good. Wasn't that a blessing?
That was a blessing, indeed.
Yes, indeed. So that's the kind of stories, listeners, that you're going to get in the book. I don't know if she talked about that in this book, but at least you heard a story here on the Lyndia Grant Show. I'm glad I was able to get that out of her today. I just want you to talk about where you plan to go now. What's next for you?
So, as I mentioned, this whole reinvention piece, we see it as a movement. The women who worked with me to put this book together, we have a real heart for helping other women. In one way or another, we're all doing something to help women to overcome, mental blocks, to help women to overcome situations where they need to improve relationships, where they need to pursue entrepreneurship or go for a job. So we're working in various programs. It's a Reinvent movement. So what I'm doing, Monday kicks off what I'm calling a Reinvent challenge. 5 days. It's absolutely free. Sign up, and you're able to go through a challenge that I will come to you live every day with one challenge per day and also supplemental materials to help you get the framework for reinvention. Further down the road, I have a program that's coming that is definitely more in-depth, a 12-week program for the woman who is ready to launch into going further into reinvention. We also have a conference planned for later in the year. And, of course, we're going to continue to go out and market this book and try to reach as many women as we can.
Oh, I love all of that. Would you give the people information about how they can get their own copy of Reinventing? What is it called?
Sure. Reinvent to Rise.
Yes, Reinvented to Rise. Thank you. I was looking for my notes.
That's fine. So the easiest thing to do to access the book, to access the programs I have going on, and to find out about the challenge is to go to my link tree. So that would be Linktree, which is LINKR.
It sounds like you're cutting off. Repeat that again.
Sure. So it's Linktree, which is LINKTR.EE, and then /Jolease, which is JOLEASE. And you'll be able to get to registration for the challenge, the place to order the book, and so many of the other things that I just talked about.
Okay, I'm going to repeat that. The link is, the address to go to is link, LINK. Does it matter if it's capital or all letters small? It doesn't matter?
No, it can all lowercase.
All lowercase. Link, LINKTR, period, dot EE, /Jolease, JOLEASE. And then you can get the information about getting a copy of the book and to find out about her challenges and her 12-week program and the conference, too. If it's not on there yet, it's coming.
It's coming. Right. Exactly.
Give us your closing comments. We only have a couple of more minutes.
Sure. I just want every woman out there to believe that wherever they are, whoever they are enough. And frequently I pray the people who see my social media, that they will have the confidence to go and be authentically themselves, knowing that you have a purpose and a plan that's divinely for you. You've got an answer, and you deserve to put it out into the world.
All right. Well, you heard it here today. Best-selling author, Alethia Tucker. Her book is entitled Reinvented to Rise. Please go to her website. We thank you for being our guest today. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to go to my close now. That does it for our show this week. Subscribe to my YouTube page. It's called The Lyndia Grant Show. When you go there and subscribe, a copy of my show will come to your email or your phone every week automatically. Pick up the Washington Informer newspaper and read my column. I've been writing the Religion Corner for 17 years. Word these, our guest next week, let me just say, my guest next week will be Michigan State Senator Ian Conyers and Chief of Staff Bobby Lawrence. They're going to be talking about the Violet T. Lewis Memorial Highway sign dedication in Detroit, Michigan. This Sunday, if your church is not hosting in-person worship, why not join us at the All Nations Baptist Church located at North Capitol and Rhode Island Avenue Northeast out at 11 o'clock. Our pastor is Reverend Dr. James Coleman. I close by saying this each week: words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect. So be careful what you send out. Scripture says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. So think on these things from the Lyndia Grant Show. I'm your host, Lyndia Grant. Until next week, good day.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.